Born in 1844 in a quiet German village, Friedrich Nietzsche's life began in the shadow of tradition. Raised in a deeply religious household, he seemed destined for a conventional path. But Nietzsche's insatiable quest for truth would lead him to abandon his faith and challenge the very foundations of morality, religion, and meaning itself. Struggling with chronic illness, isolation, and restless intellect, Nietzsche's ideas were forged through pain and perseverance, becoming some of the most transformative in philosophy. What shaped this radical thinker? Let's begin by exploring the early influences that planted the seeds of his revolutionary mind. Nietzsche's journey into philosophy began with a love for the ancients. He was drawn to the works of ancient Greek tragedians, such as Aeschylus, Sophocles, as well as pre-Socratic philosophers like Heraclitus, who claimed all is flux. This early exposure laid the foundation for his belief in constant change and becoming, a theme that would dominate his later works. Another significant influence was Arthur Schopenhauer, whose The World as Will and Representation captivated young Nietzsche. Schopenhauer's vision of life as an endless cycle of suffering and striving resonated deeply. However, Nietzsche would later reject Schopenhauer's pessimism, opting instead for a philosophy of life affirmation. Nietzsche's most infamous proclamation is perhaps this: God is dead. But what does this actually mean? Nietzsche wasn't gleefully announcing the death of a literal deity, but pointing to the decline of religious faith in the modern world. For centuries, Christianity provided a framework for meaning, morality, and purpose. But with the rise of science, secularism, and individualism, Nietzsche saw this foundation crumbling. Without God, Nietzsche argued, humanity faced a void, a crisis of meaning. He called this void nihilism, the belief that life is inherently meaningless. But for Nietzsche, this wasn't the end of the story. He didn't see nihilism as something to lament, but as a challenge to overcome. The question wasn't, what is the meaning of life, but rather, how can we create meaning in a world without inherent purpose? At the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy lies the concept of the will to power. Unlike Schopenhauer, who saw the will as a blind force for survival, Nietzsche saw it as a creative and expansive drive. The will to power is not about dominating others, but about striving, growing, and overcoming. For Nietzsche, every living thing embodies this will. Plants grow toward the sun, animals adapt to survive. In humans create. They write symphonies, build cities, and challenge the limits of knowledge. Life, in Nietzsche's view, isn't a static state, but a constant process of becoming. The will to power also ties closely to his idea of self-overcoming. Nietzsche believed the greatest human achievement wasn't conquering others, but surpassing oneself. This is where he introduced the concept of the Übermensch, or Overman, an individual who creates their own values and lives authentically, free from societal or religious constraint. One of Nietzsche's most fascinating and enigmatic ideas is the concept of eternal recurrence. Imagine, he said, that your life would repeat itself infinitely, with every joy, every sorrow, and every decision looping for eternity. How would you live life if you knew this was true? For Nietzsche, this thought experiment wasn't about proving reincarnation or fate. Instead, it was a call to live life fully, to live as though every choice you made was worth repeating forever. The idea challenges us to confront our actions and values head-on. Are we living authentically, or are we stuck in patterns of regret and complacency? Eternal recurrence also ties into Nietzsche's broader critique of linear thinking. He rejected the idea of progress as a straight path toward utopia. Instead, he saw life as cyclical, a continuous dance of creation and destruction. If you are intrigued by Nietzsche's idea of eternal recurrence and want to explore how it connects to broader philosophical themes, check out my video on the myth of eternal return. It dives deeper into these timeless ideas and their impact on how we see life. One of Nietzsche's most profound examinations lies in his critique of morality. He proposed that there are two fundamental types of morality: master morality and slave morality. Master morality, Nietzsche claimed, is rooted in strength, creativity, and self-affirmation. It's the morality of those who define their own values and embrace life's challenges. In contrast, slave morality emerges from resentment, an attitude of the weak toward the strong. Slave morality, Nietzsche argued, elevates virtues like humility, meekness, and self-sacrifice while demonizing strength and ambition. Nietzsche believed that Christianity, with its emphasis on sin and self-denial, epitomized slave morality. He didn't see this as inherently bad, but as a historical development that shaped Western civilization. However, he challenged us to ask, are these values serving us today, or are they holding us back from achieving our potential? Nietzsche's vision of humanity's future culminates in the figure of the Übermensch, often translated as Overman or Superman. The Overman is not a hero in the traditional sense, but an individual who has transcended societal norms and nihilism. They create their own meaning, embrace life's chaos, and live with passion and purpose. The Overman is an aspirational figure, representing the highest potential of human existence. Nietzsche contrasts the Overman with the less man, a figure who seeks only comfort, security, and mediocrity. The less man is content but unfulfilled, a cautionary tale of what happens when we abandon the will to power. Nietzsche's ideas didn't exist in a vacuum. His philosophy was deeply influenced by earlier thinkers, from Heraclitus' concept of change to Spinoza's belief in self-determination. At the time, his work paved the way for future philosophical movements, including existentialism and postmodernism. Jean-Paul Sartre, for instance, echoed Nietzsche's call to create one's own values, while Martin Heidegger expanded on his critique of nihilism. Even today, Nietzsche's philosophy resonates in discussions about individuality, creativity, and the search for meaning. Ultimately, Nietzsche's philosophy is not a doctrine, but a challenge, a call to live life with courage, creativity, and authenticity. He asked us to question everything, our beliefs, our values, even ourselves. He reminded us that life's meaning isn't something we find, it's something we create. As Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, I teach you the Overman. Man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? This question isn't just philosophical, it's deeply personal. What will you create? What will you overcome? And how will you affirm the chaos and beauty of life?